Hey guys, just wanted to give you all a little video here to show you what was wrong with our 2015 Hyundai Santa Fe. Got the 3.3 liter Lambda V6. It was giving us a couple of trouble codes, P0300 for random misfire, misfires on cylinders 2, 4, and 6. Also the trouble codes for bad crankshaft, bad cam position sensors. So I started diving into this, and I started with replacing. I actually replaced all 4 of them because there's 4. Those are the camshaft position sensor. Replaced all those. Replaced the crankshaft position sensor here, and that didn't do anything. So watched a couple other videos, talked to a couple of my buddies, and they said, hey, sounds like it may have jumped time. And so I was like, well, let's dive into that a little bit more and see. So pulled the timing cover and the valve covers. This one's out of the vehicle now because I broke it. So be careful, that plastic gets brittle. Broke it just enough that I had to buy a new one. So started diving into it more, like I said, and so here's one of the tensioners for the timing chain, and this one is still working properly. So pulled the other one, and it's locked up. I couldn't get it unstuck, and the car itself was making that rattling noise, which is indicative of these things. There's some other videos out there where you can see there those little teeth, they start wearing out, and the oil pressure. These things are run by oil pressure, and there's also a little spring inside. But what happened is this one failed, and I can't compress it. I can't get it to release, lifting up on that with tools or anything. So I thought that was my problem. I thought, well, there's enough slack on that timing chain, and it's now it's making that click and that rattle up against the timing cover. So I was like, well, I'm already in here. I'm gonna go ahead and replace the chains, which, by the way, the one chain was stretched out. Was stretched out by about 1/4 of an inch. Which is, obviously not a good thing. So I went ahead and replaced all the guide rails, everything that I could get to while I was in there. And then I started looking at it, and I was like, while I'm in here, I'm gonna go ahead and replace these phasers. These phasers advance and retard the timing, depending on what the computer is calling for. So when I pulled those off, I went to install the new ones, and I don't know if you guys can see, but right there's a little notch, little dowel pin that sticks up. It's right there at the top, 12 o'clock position. So as I was pulling on the left bank intake side, which is where cylinders 2, 4, and 6 are on this motor. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. Dowel pin is gone. It's completely gone, sheared off. There's you can see where it's been kind of binding up, and it finally just sheared off. And lo and behold, the end of the camshaft, where that thing goes, right there, right where you can see where I attempted to drill it out. I couldn't get it out. I think it's kind of welded in there from the heat and everything. I tried heating it up, tried drilling it. I just went ahead and decided to go ahead, and I didn't want to damage it any further, so I just replaced the camshaft on there. That is what ultimately led to all of the problems that I was having, plus the failed tensioner. So the failed tensioner probably helped create this little issue here. So if you start hearing that rattling or that clicking noise upon a cold start, I suggest you go ahead and just get everything, get new tensioners at least put in. But while you're in there, go ahead and get everything else replaced while you're there. These things are mechanical. You know, they've got parts on the inside, springs and everything else, but yeah, they have a tendency to wear out and they have a tendency to break. Another thing, while I was in there, I went ahead and replaced both the intake and exhaust. These are the VVT, the solenoids. So oil pressure, again, goes in there, comes out there. So that's on both the intake, and there's the exhaust ones. Now to replace these, you do have to remove the valve covers here, because you'll see them and they actually stick up through that hole right there. There's a seal that goes around there. Real quick, the other fun part that I ran into was on the water pump. So when I purchased the new water pump, had it all installed, had it all torqued down, and got the pulley put on, got the new belt put on, had it all done, and I was turning the crank, and it was binding up, and I thought I had a bigger issue. But what it turned out was the pulley that goes on here for the new water pump was actually rubbing right here. It was catching, it was binding. The new water pumps, the wall, this wall right here, is significantly thicker. And so what that was doing is it was causing it to bind up. So I had to do some customization, and I took my little die grinder and I ground that down just a little bit, just enough to get it to where it would move freely. So if you're replacing a water pump on one of these motors, what you may want to go ahead and do is, when you get the old one pulled off, before you install the new one, go ahead and attach the pulley and just test it out. You can test it out, and you can see if it's going to bind up anywhere. Use an impact to go ahead and put those little bolts back on there. Use that, get that on there, and just spin it and see if it spins freely. If it doesn't spin freely, you've got an issue. You can either try to take the part back, exchange it, whatever you need to do. Yeah, so that was my latest job. It took me probably about 26 hours total. This was my first time, pulling the timing cover on this motor and everything. One of the hardest parts actually is the wiring harness. There's probably 50 different little electrical connectors, and it seems like they're all different types. So be prepared for that. Just have a little patience and don't break those connectors. Anyways, appreciate the time, guys. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. Appreciate it.